Welcome to another week of Final Fantasy XIII. I'm Dice, and joined again by...
Hello, it's Izala.
And so we repaired a little robot friend last week. He gave us a lot of items for walking. We got our 10,000 steps in for the day.
Yeah, it's basically a super advanced Pulsian step counter.
But it has a reward structure, which is very important.
Yeah, it's like those health insurance programs where they send you like blankets and stuff for being.
On the other side, unfortunately, it looks like Fang and Vanille's village is deserted in a desert of crystal.
That's putting it nicely.
Yeah. So Bhakti actually has a couple extra notes, and the Sylvia Springs one seems real interesting. We might have to go check that out before we continue along.
A whopper of a fal'Cie, I wonder.
It's a giant burger, right?
Yeah. An impossible burger.
Must go beyond.
Nice.
I missed a couple of signposts, literally, when I was walking through, apparently.
Guess you're not getting 100% completion. Surely they include all signposts.
It could be an achievement, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure we mentioned this, but Bhakti's a little weird. So Final Fantasy XIII was the first Final Fantasy to include like achievements. It came out on the 360 and PS3, and I think just after the XMB update for PS3, where they included trophies. There are 2 achievements locked behind talking to Bhakti. So you can do the achievement requirement, which one of them is 10,000 steps on Pulse, but you will not earn the achievement until you repair and talk to Bhakti for it.
Yeah. Little weird.
And by also doing that, they had included a system of XMB and Avatar for PS3 and Xbox 360, respectively, for rewards for those achievements that were also unlocked by talking to Bhakti.
Did you get like titles? I don't really remember that being a thing in any of the user interfaces, but it specifically calls the things that you get titles. At least
well, you get titles. I think the titles are for the in-game stuff.
Okay.
Because like there's a title tracker for the seat stones, and I think that's just what they're kind of calling the achievements from a like translation source type of thing. So they don't have to translate between achievements and trophies. They just call it titles.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I think there's avatars, like gamer icons for 360, possibly also what do they call it? The avatar like costumes, like t-shirts or something, I think were unlocks from achievements.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it was wallpapers / themes for some of the characters, most of our main party particularly, for the PS3.
Alright, so here's what was missed.
I didn't walk to this particular part of the water.
They grown big here.
That fal'Cie protects the waterfront.
Must think we came to stir up trouble.
Well, if that's what it thinks, shouldn't we probably be heading off now?
Looks like it's a little late for that.
Thing looks pretty confident, too.
It should be clumsy out of the water. If we can get it to follow us onto dry land. Okay, guess that's not happening.
They're getting ready to fight it.
I thought you did because of the way that they talk about it. I was like, okay, there's something else to do here. I had to like double check myself, be like, okay, no, you don't actually fight this. It's just spawns these 2 pillars.
Yup. Don't worry, they make you fight these things.
Yeah, and these fights are hell. I mean, it's just straight up. You really want to burn down those the big fish things because they will cast stop on you constantly. I think days in particular. But the other two will summon packs of the little frog things, and those can just wipe out your characters. Like, even when we were doing the first run through here, obviously we're a bit stronger at this point, so it wasn't as bad, but these are definitely difficult encounters, and I can't see trying to do it first time through regardless. Or if you do, you'll sit here for a while trying to farm a preemptive strike or something. Maybe a summon would actually help.
That's true. Since the problem is kind of with number of enemies.
Yeah. I mean, we have things to help mitigate that now. Like, whenever Saz actually does the Naga, it's great because it knocks up and hits most of their weaknesses. We also have Runga on Lightning now too, which has the added effect of basically a knock up on things with low poise, which we do exploit. I think we exploited some of that when we were walking through Oga last time too. But actually, I think I had more difficulty with the second fight, which has one less enemy, which seems weird. Really just depends on how the little frogs end up focusing. If they all go for one character, that character is going to die very quickly. It's partially my fault for, actively avoiding Sentinel at all costs.
Yeah.
We eventually get through.
I think that's a upgrade material.
Yeah, an upgrade material, and is that a weapon?
It looked like a water charm, so an
Okay.
accessory.
I know the Snow's weapon icon looks a lot like the talisman icon for some reason.
Unless water charm is one of Snow's weapons, but I don't think so.
Probably not. And also the power of the waypoint seed stones.
Yes, this is why they're nice to unlock.
I was originally going to do it at the end, but then I realized that there was a waypoint seed stone this close to the end of the tower. So we had to wait a little bit longer to satisfy what Azala had said a couple weeks ago at this point.
Go for Falsy completion. Even though you don't get to kill it.
We're nowhere near that at this point either.
It's true.
I wanted to enjoy Dust to Dust a little bit longer.
It is a good track. One of the more, atmospheric ones.
Yeah. Oh, signpost. Yeah, a lot of the structures in Erba kind of look like they were repurposed construction equipment along that line, something like that. Basically, a stone structure and then metal thing that looked like a ship hull as a house.
Yeah, and a lot of salvage stuff in general that makes you wonder where was it salvaged from if Pulse was the thing here.
Yeah.
Or at least I wonder that.
Or this was an important village long in the past, and then it's kind of just been repurposed for this train depot.
Yeah. We'll never know.
It's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. We'll need that Final Fantasy 13 prequel.
Well, there were books, right?
Yeah, which I guess are technically prequels, but they only start a couple days before, with the exception of a couple of the stories anyway.
Yeah.
But even then, it's pretty much limited to the things that happened like 600 years ago during the War of Transgression.
Which is useful to know since we have 2 characters.
Yeah, and you get nothing in the game, really.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, so this is clearly like a railway bridge, and it looks to have those like sound barriers even.
I mean, possibly for high-speed stuff too. It's more protecting debris from getting thrown in a lot of the time rather than just sound dampening. I know that's a useful case for them. I don't know, maybe...
Well, I mean, either way is interesting. Either there
Yeah.
is like the sound barriers there for what is now like a small village, so what was it used to be like? Or, oh, they had high-speed rail. Like,
Yeah.
both are kind of surprising.
Were they afraid of fish jumping out from the water?
I mean,
Onto the rail.
if they're the fish that you fought in that last area,
Yeah.
I would be afraid of that too. Awfully convenient that section of track stayed in.
I mean, lightning could have jumped it anyways, and
That's
and Hope would have just teleported. So it's fine.
Those arm things.
But I guess Erba is also kind of aesthetically or from a location standpoint, kind of like a foil for. I'm forgetting the name of the first village where lightning and snow and them are from.
Bodum.
Bodum, yes. How that was kind of like a fishing resort. This could be basically the Pulse version of Bodum, and they stole the Foul Sea, assumedly, from Erba and placed it at Bodum and produced basically what Bodum became.
Yeah, that could be. We know that's like straight up where the vestige and the fallacy came from, so.
And for some reason, the structure that's out in the water, mentally to me, it looks like a casino. I don't know why I think it's a casino, like a hotel resort type thing, but like the structure of it, I have no evidence for that.
I mean, beyond it looking like a casino, I guess that's just not good evidence, but.
So we ended up. This is the reward from Bhakti. I think we had like 30,000 gil, and we sold the platinum and the gold dust we got him, and we have like 550,000. And so yeah, we're just upgrading a couple of things right before the end here. We're finally actually upgrading Lightning's weapon for the first time since the beginning of Chapter 9. So we also got both a weapon, a tier 2 weapon for Saz, and a tier 2 weapon for Fang, who are active party members. So it's the most stats that we're going to have for a while.
Ragnarok. Come day of wrath, O pulse the sea.
Sounds an awful lot like
Embrace
Sarah.
thy fate, thine home to burn. That fallen souls might bear our plea.
Neil's no longer our narrator.
To hasten the divine's return. O piteous wanderer, Ragnarok. Make of this day a brave epoch. Deliver the divine, Ragnarok.
Sarah, how did you...
Hope beyond hope.
You
Snow
did it,
beyond
Snow. Mission
I was
accomplished.
waiting for you to open your eyes.
Saz knows what's up.
All the time I was asleep, I knew what was happening. I kept
Saz
trying
is
to
back
think
there,
of a
like
way to
Sarah's
save
looking pretty
Cocoon.
sus, guys.
Together.
Sarah?
You get it now.
Oh, it's the bird.
There are no gods with miracles to save us. No matter where you look. That's why we have to call one. Destroy Orphan. We'll save the world.
Stop it!
You can't do that. You love me too much. You do, don't you, Claire?
Enough already.
That face.
Listen up. We are all shooting for the same goal here.
Also, Lightning getting name dropped.
Yeah.
And the result of that is this.
You son of a...
You betray your fal'Cie to chase after dreams and shadows. The world you claim to wish to protect now faces the end of days, with no hope of salvation.
I didn't think fal'Cie had the means.
Oh, it won't be fal'Cie who destroy her. For centuries now, Cocoon has provided generously for its human inhabitants every want and need. Coddled them, one might even say. The result being their deep-seated fear and hatred of change and all things alien. Fed, nurtured, and ready to detonate at the slightest spark. The seeds of destruction take root, even now.
What did you do to Cocoon?
I resigned, appointing Reigns as Primarch in my stead.
The crystal dude.
He's alive?
Right.
The puppet is restrung to serve my needs, yes. Its eyes had long since turned to glass. Of course, the cavalry's eyes will see our friend as nothing more than a traitor to their cause. They'll say the fal'Cie got to him too, or some such drivel. And imagine, when I spread word that it's Orphan tugging at his strings, what happens next?
You're gonna use the cavalry to take the thing out?
Perhaps. Or perhaps I'll feign the howling of Pulsian wolves and let the fear-addled sheep slaughter themselves first. Either way, the end is at hand. But what of yourselves? Will you enjoy the festivities beside me? Or perhaps
Reach the end here, in the land where it all began.
Well, he got an upgrade.
All those lives.
Yeah. Bartandalus V2. So yeah, he did mention that he brought Sid Reigns back out of like crystallization, so that's fun.
Some form of crystal stasis. Yeah, we saw him get grabbed or like phantomed up at the end, but he had already like transformed halfway into a Seath at that point too. But you know, fal'Cie magic, I'm sure they can reverse some of that.
I guess that means Snow was right. At the very beginning of the game, his purpose for going to see Enema was to get him to change Sarah back.
Yeah.
So I guess he technically would have had that power if Bartandalus can do it to his listeners.
Bartandalus always comes off as kind of an interesting case from fal'Cie, being able to speak to humans. His role as like an intermediary between fal'Cie and humans, I guess. How much of a liaison he actually is slowly, or rather, very quickly eroding away. But I think you had mentioned where like you wouldn't necessarily know what your focus was, except Bartandalus to just be like, "This is what I actually meant for you to do." That vision was not useful.
Yeah. I guess like the upside to being one of his listees is he can just tell you. There's less that you have to guess.
Well, like Sid wanted to oppose what his focus was in some capacity. And every time that we've kind of been wishy-washy on whether or not we're going to complete our focus or not a focus, we end up fighting an Eidolon. Does Sid have an Eidolon?
Not that we know of. But he's also not a pulseless. So not that I think Eidolons are very specific to.
Yeah, because during the parade in Nautilus, they show an Eidolon from the pulse and the cocoon side. Right. I can't remember.
That is true.
They weren't exclusive. I think the number of Eidolons that have been encountered is pretty high. So what exactly instigates an Eidolon showing up is probably not super well defined.
And become sealed. Perhaps this.
Bartandalus!
Yeah, Bartandalus basically just sits here and shoots us, but he is debuffable.
Let's go!
Particularly slowing. I wish we could have done that the first time.
This battle is ours.
The poison is kind of just ignored. It's less interesting of a fight because we don't have multiple targets to hit. He just basically, as you do more damage to him, he gets more and more faces that can shoot you occasionally. So later on in the fight, you're going to want to heal more often. But with our freshly upgraded weapons and doing a triple commando paradigm during stagger, you can pretty much just burn him. He does his super blast.
Also, like, not particularly hard to stagger.
Yes. But he gives us 100,000 Crystarium. And we upgrade into stage 9, I believe.
That makes sense.
The time has come.
Well, of course, that was just a test.
Allow me to extend my invitation. To save a people beyond salvation, there is only Ragnarok.
So again, to reiterate,
Cocoon suffers. Release her from the pain.
Bartandalus's objective is for the citizens of Cocoon to basically die, and with enough death, the Maker will return. But you can stop some of that by killing Orphan, so he's going to bring you there.
Basically.
Okay.
Yes.
So, this is the
technically, the party's objective isn't necessarily to kill Orphan. They're
Here's hoping the pot's
just
full
trying
of
to
tips
kill
on dealing with
Bartandalus.
crackpot Foul C.
Yes.
You know, I don't remember this being here before. I guess it's new, huh?
A freshly minted Seath just so happened.
I suppose it might.
I think
be
it was on the
recordable.
ground when we were walking up. So I don't think it just spawned it. It got energy from our fight.
He's just sleeping. I see.
I don't think we've encountered a purple one yet either.
This one is also not like the others.
Cocoon, where the slaves of Lindsay dwell, is the enemy of all life fostered by Pulse's sacred hand. So Alfalsi determined Pulse's will, chose Lassie, and gave them a focus. Become Ragnarok and bring about the end of Cocoon. And so the beast arose, defeated Lindsay's hateful Fal'Cie, and prepared to tear Cocoon apart. But her providence betrayed our l'Cie, draining Ragnarok of strength. Their focus only half complete, the l'Cie were taken to the enemy's land by Bartandalus, curse his name. And the goddess said, l'Cie who rest upon Cocoon will reawaken, however long they may wait. And Ragnarok will rise again, to tear the land from its seat in the sky. Her word is absolute.
Guess the jig
Surely
is up.
that clears everything up.
Cocoon's done for, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't sweat it. If we go ahead and smash Cocoon, you know some makers sure to roll up and save the day.
As long as Fal'Cie are around, this fight is never gonna end. So let's finish it. Let's get Daisley.
So what do we do about Orphan?
We help Orphan. What else can we do? If we can manage to keep it safe.
Another war breaks out somewhere down the road. We're l'Cie. It's not like we can make people stop fighting.
Lightning, you told me on Cocoon. It's not a question of can or can't. We just
He's
do it.
paraphrasing a bit, I think.
That's our only choice this time. Maybe it won't do much. Maybe only one person will listen to us. But even then, isn't trying better than doing nothing?
Because ripples can make waves.
Okay, kids have gone crazy.
Revolutionaries always get cold crazy.
When I was on Cocoon, I wished on those fireworks. I wished to not let anything happen to Cocoon this time.
Kind of already failed that.
Next time.
But
Yeah,
I shouldn't have wished for that.
just a bit.
Wishes aren't enough. Prayers either. This time I'm making a promise. I will keep Cocoon safe. I promise. No matter what.
I guess it takes losing everything to make you see how much you have to fight for. Huh.
And we're the only ones who can do it, right?
Right.
Yep.
All right then. Let's tie up loose ends.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I promptly ignore lightning.
Surely this is where you're supposed to go complete all of the Seath Stones.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, we did get a Crystarium expansion, but spoilers, there is at least one more. Yeah, so that Seath Stone isn't actually active. It does, I believe, come active post-game, maybe?
Maybe.
There's your casino. I don't know why I think it's a casino, but
Just seems
it'd be
fine.
a cool. It'd be a cool place for a casino in the middle of a lake.
It's true. Yeah, I agree.
Even if we were chasing shadows, our minds were made up. We'd realized along the way.
So, real quick
choice
detail,
was the
in the
only
little
thing we
like
had left.
thing that Vanille was reading there,
Yeah.
they mention
Maybe we'd
her
fall
providence, and if
Maybe
you
we'd
do
never
all of the
even
Seath
come
Stones and
close.
collect the
short. But
Analects,
someone,
which are
someday,
just
would know
one
we
of the
tried.
sets of data logs, you do find out that they're referring to Etro, one
Okay.
of the original gods there.
And that was a counterpoint to Lindsay, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure like how much they were like counterpoints as much. Like, I'm not sure if they're all kind of like on the same team, same objective, or anything like that.
Gotcha.
But she definitely stopped. Like, she's the one that sealed the Ragnarok away, which is kind of what they're talking about in that poem. I guess it's a poem. Maybe it's not. I'm calling it a poem now.
A history of the end of the transgression with the Pulse perspective, basically.
Yeah.
Somebody died to make that seed stone to tell us that history, or to leave that history.
Something like that.
Your Eminence. It is time. The people await your address.
We have zombie Sid. He's kind of in a bit of a pickle.
He lost all of his crystal wings.
And so, we greet the new dawn.
Probably for the best if he's gonna go on TV as like the new ruler.
My fellow citizens, we have survived the twilight and gather now to welcome the dawn of the day on which we decide our fate. Many are the lessons we have learned during our long night of hardship and sacrifice. And now we face choices. Choices which must be made as our hearts.
So we're going to celebrate surviving a Lassie incursion with F-Zero.
Yes.
Okay.
With these hands, we shape the future.
It seems like a cool race.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just seems like it came out of nowhere.
Speaking of coming out of nowhere.
Close call. And the hero saves the day.
Good old Snow. It's back to normal.
Screaming at the top of his lungs that he's a Lassie.
Probably should have covered that.
So this is why they all turn into vehicles.
Yes, it was for this one moment. Uh-oh, Hope, you're kind of screwed, actually.
Cut him off! Oh, I think we have a winner.
I don't think Hope is going to win the race with his stationary idol.
You're dead!
You first!
I mean, this cutscene is very flashy.
Yes. This was like the animation budget.
Yeah.
Block this!
I will say it is very unclear even exactly what is going on.
Very much so. I don't know what happened, but it looked cool.
Right. Like, there's cool flips and stuff, but spatial awareness in this scene is practically non-existent.
We're not even entirely like, they just got dropped off. They weren't prepared to do any of that either.
Right.
Unless, you know, the bird ship gave them a warning that this is what was happening there.
Well, you know, they have TVs in those ships, as we've seen previously, so maybe they were watching, you know, the Sid Reigns address.
Yeah, I guess maybe Sid wasn't actually addressing the race, and it was just a public broadcast that happened to coincide with the beginning of the race.
I have to assume that, you know, people are watching the race on TV if they're not there. But I don't know. I don't know how this works. It's just there's no information about the race other than like, hey, you're coming back in the middle of NASCAR.
Until next time.
So yeah, that was a summon. We haven't done a summon in a while. That was forced on us, and pretty much the reason why we don't use summons is almost immediately apparent because we spent a lot longer in the summon to do a third of its HP than it does for us to take out the rest of the HP.
Change of plan.
It didn't help that with the summon's attack speed, you couldn't stagger it.
Yep. But we got more shops.
What's that sound?
It's nice that they haven't revoked our access to, you know, all of the shops.
Right.
They're still willing to drop off items to us.
Say again, Patrol, and speak clearly. The armies of Pulse, they're using transgates! Transgates? How many coming through? Numbers unconfirmed, but it's a full-scale invasion. Eden's being overrun.
Sucks for them. I don't want to fight that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that they come out and say it like explicitly or not, but all this crap is from the arcs.
Yeah. So we never fought any of these when we were in there, but these are the 34 floors or something we're storing this. Even though they were taken from Pulse, a lot of these fauna are what we fought all on planet.
Yep. And it was Bartandalus that did it basically just to
An army
cause
of creatures
chaos
is attacking
and
the
make
city.
people think
It's a Pulse
Pulse was
invasion
attacking.
force. Your Eminence, we must evacuate.
Oh, remember this dude from like that one scene he was in before?
He pulled his helmet off real cool one time.
So, Reigns, is this the cocoon you dreamed of? My dream is but a Falsee's fancy now. End it.
Idealism. Defeated blood and it howls for more!
No pun intended, but that was a pretty short reign as Primarch there.
It looks like the cavalry's made their move.
There's more to it than that. They're saying Eden is crawling with Pulse nasties.
Fresh off the ark, I'd wager.
Yeah, so Fang
This is out of control.
connects the
What'll happen
dots
to
there.
Cocoon?
It's all out war. Did we cause this by coming back? Bartandalus' prediction. It's all coming true.
I wonder why.
His
Yeah.
future stops right here. We're the ones who decide what happens next.
Let's get moving.
Right.
Okay.
He did the thing he said he was going to do. Oh no, his prediction was accurate.
Hope's a child still?
Have to stop the Falsey. That's our real focus.
Yeah, so now we're on this racetrack. Because cool?
Which is now cleared of any debris or like anything else.
So the big item from that shop is the Royal Amulet, which just is straight up damage reduction. I'm never going to use it. Let's just be honest.
It doesn't do more damage, therefore it's not worth it.
Yeah, so we're at stage 9. Everything costs a lot. Basically, Bartandalus gave us 10 nodes, less than 10 nodes with the Crystarium, but you know, we're gonna try and get the last couple of things. Saz finally has Shell and Protect. Like, that's great. There is some AI wonkiness with that, unfortunately, because he will prioritize damage reduction even on short fights, which they can leave. But having both haste and that on our synergist is very good for boss fights.
The other thing I think you start getting at stage 9 is everyone's unique ability.
Yes.
So you picked up Army of One on Lightning that is hers. I don't remember, but are those available regardless of their current role?
I feel like they are role specific, but I'll have to look into it more. I'm not sure if I used any of them because honestly I couldn't remember if they were abilities or techniques.
They don't cost TP.
Okay.
It is just like a normal ATB thing. But I thought there was something unique about them. And for some reason I'm thinking you might be able to use them outside the role, but I could be completely wrong about that.
Most of the abilities didn't work that way. Like, they specifically called out, but because they're character specific.
Right.
Everywhere you look.
Yeah, it's been a while since we fought Psycom-based enemies, but basically are back into the enemy groups that we had at the very beginning of like Vile Peaks. So there's Pulse enemies and some Psycom enemies. They've gotten stronger, but so have we.
They're not at stage 9 of the Crystarium yet.
Yeah, that was level 5. Because, you know,
Yeah.
levels on enemies matter in this game. And yeah, so I guess the Cavalry knew that Sid Reigns obviously became the new Primarch, and that he wasn't doing it by choice. He still seemed to have some will, he just knew he couldn't act against anything.
Yeah. The Ultimania actually mentioned something specifically about that. So, like, the speech that he was doing to kick off the start of the race, it does seem like they intended some of the things he said in there to be, like, subtle hints that, like, it's not really what he wanted. Specifically, they called out when he said choices which must be made as our hearts dictate.
I don't know about this.
Was supposed to be like a call out to people. The Ultimania also notes that nobody paid attention to these things because they were, quote, too excited for the race.
See you outside.
Basically,
Don't want to get left behind,
they're
do you?
completely aware that the people of Cocoon are
Just
sheeple.
remember, don't drop the
Yeah.
gizmo.
So yeah, it's been a while since one of these scenes where we just, you know, just jump off of a very tall structure.
It's how you get around. I just to assume that Lightning got a restock of them from the bird ship.
Right.
Because as far as we're aware, that thing was still broken on her leg, and then those are grenade versions of it.
You could have won me.
That's how they get around on Cocoon.
That's how light gets around.
And no one else is crazy enough to try and do that all the time.
Yeah, she kind of abuses it.
Right.
Are we gonna fight?
Wonder.
They're choosing with their hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have cavalry members, I guess Guardian Corps, technically. Work with SciComm again. Makes complete sense.
Yeah, I mean, here, you know, they understandably believe they were just attacked.
I guess, also, how long were we on Pulse? Like, they were just celebrating the culmination of the Pulse threat.
Well, I'm not so... Do we know what the race was celebrating? Because I always assumed it was, like, in celebration of Sid Reigns becoming...
Oh, that's
Primus.
also... Yeah.
But I don't know. The speech
Because of this...
really...
The speech talks about, like, a new dawn and, like, moving on a little bit is kind of what I got away from that.
Maybe it could have been the end of the...
Say goodbye!
It does talk about the sacrifices made and stuff, too, so...
Change of plan. Time for another approach.
So it does actually say in the data logs by this point as well that after they assassinated Sid Reigns, the cavalry continues on to attack Orphan. Bartandalus mentioned that he was going to like spread rumors basically that Orphan was pulling Sid Reigns strings. So
yeah, I guess would the cavalry know that Daisley is Bartandalus is a Fal'Cie? Like how much has that gotten out? Because he kind of, you know, did it. He transformed on the Palamecia kind of in front of a whole bunch of people. Like, did anyone else see that? Make it out of there type thing. Going to go with probably none.
yeah, I assume it's not that basically nobody knows that Daisley is actually Bartandalus kind of in this battle.
Keep the enemy off balance.
Because he does state, and the data logs confirm, that he resigns from his position, like as Daisley.
The burden of the purge was just too much for him, and he needed to step down.
Right. It would have been very easy to BS his way out of.
Yeah.
So this is like another thing where it's like the game maybe should have done a better job of like showing, not telling what happened there. It may have been easier.
I mean, a lot of it, like the political discourse, could also be a reaction to people's reaction to Final Fantasy XII, which did show a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right.
And there was some discussion in that game about like the political intrigue isn't necessarily why people came to this, so like they still used it as a motivation, but didn't think it was important enough as a driving force, I guess.
Right. Which is weird because it comes up quite frequently throughout all of the chapters where they talk about how people's views on Pulse, and like there's constant allusions to like the government like kind of egging them on, so to speak, like making them fear Pulse and stuff like that. So that kind of political theme is very present. It's just always talked about, and outside of like a few cases where they like maybe arguably show it, there's not really.
Yeah, I mean, really the only people that would express a counter-government viewpoint are Snow's gang,
right? Nora,
which haven't been present at all since chapter 1.
Right.
So you don't get a like boots on the ground internal resistance. Like the cavalry is a resistance, but they.
So the cavalry's here to,
They're here for Orphan. If it's close to the Fal'Cie Eden, they're probably headed for the heart of the Sanctum.
Right. And if they destroy it, bad things are gonna happen.
So long, Cocoon.
Then we better get there before they do.
Damn
Yeah.
straight.
Uh-oh. Let's move!
Not a preemptive strike.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume not.
And so yeah, this is Behemoth King. Well, we fought one of these right before doing a hunt mark back in chapter 11. Now it's just regular enemy. Surprise, surprise.
Easy.
Final Fantasy always uses behemoths as like the indication of like a final dungeon area. We've fought a whole bunch of variants of behemoths up to this point, but we're starting to get to the big boys. But yeah, I think having like the cavalry as a more juxtaposition of our team, or like having more discussion of like an internal resistance to the government or something. It's just instead of them, they just show up when it's convenient for the story, and that was
right. Whereas, like, you know, because they had like the party split up and Snow went with them, but there's not much playable.
Keep the enemy off balance.
Where there could have been, like, they probably. I mean, there's some cutscenes. Like, I don't want to say like it's not there. But perhaps you could have played as Snow and Fang going to meet up with Lightning. I mean, that would require them to structure it differently, because you had Snow and Hope together during that section.
Or have the cavalry, like Snow with the cavalry, I don't know, doing like supply chains to other resistance, because like Snow's Nora gang could kind of be conceived as like a resistance, and then he meets a bigger resistance group and like can kind of get a network going. Basically, I'm looking for an avalanche.
Yeah. That may have been what they had in mind when they conceived Nora.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels to the beginning of that last Or maybe not parallels, but similarities. Behemoth King down.
Not these things. I'm more scared of these than the Behemoth King.
You know, fair. Yeah, Saz has that attitude too.
But I'm so scared we're gonna have to take a break from this, and we'll just see how the citizens of Cocoon handle their new sense of pulse hatred next week. Thanks for watching.
See you next week.